So when if the power grid goes down? Very interesting question. I did a video on martial law in America, and somebody sent me a comment I thought was very interesting, so I'm going to respond. Okay, connected to you2 wrote, "You're forgetting a few major issues. By simply cutting off the power / hydro / water / food / medical supply for a couple weeks or months, the population will turn on itself." I agree. Of course it would. So in reality, the military would only have to fall back and protect key places and people and keep the power and water and food cut off and let nature take its course. Interesting. Then after a few months, what's left of the population will be easy to manage and control. I mean, basically, you really think the government's gonna cut out the water supply, the food supply, purposely, and the power supply? And you think they're gonna just have the military sit back and wait for people to actually die and stuff? That doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, first of all, the military does not exist in a vacuum. If something like that did happen, you really think people are going to stand by, soldiers and government workers are going to stand by and let their family members starve to death simply because somebody gave the order to cut out the power and the food and the water and all this stuff and just sit back? I mean, that's crazy. You know, did you see that movie The Road? I mean, if they did something that stupid, we would be living in that type of scenario. That makes no sense at all. People wouldn't go along with that order simply because people, even if they really, really want their jobs badly enough, they care more about their family than any type of government job. So that wouldn't work at all. And that wouldn't really create a situation where anybody can have any type of control. That wouldn't be very good at all for the power structure or the establishment. So I think that's pretty much out of the list of options for the powers that be. I think they want to have some type of control over our lives. They don't want to completely destroy their own systems. Okay, another viewer, DPLA5762, wrote, "Don't forget that not all 305 million people will need to be actively controlled. There are only 80 million men between the ages of 20 and 60. Okay, let me stop you right there. First of all, you're making a big assumption that the only people you're going to have to worry about are men. And they have to be between the ages of 20 and 60. What's stopping a 61-year-old man from getting a 30-06 with a scope and putting a bullet in somebody's head? I mean, what's stopping a 33-year-old woman from getting a gun and shooting a soldier after some soldiers killed her husband? What's stopping a 16-year-old girl from getting a long-range rifle and picking somebody off? What, you think that if there's a martial law situation that, you know, all the boys under 20 are just going to be well behaved, and all the men above the age of 60 are going to be completely docile? Well, a lot of them may not be able to do much anything, but a lot of them will. And what about all the women out there? You're ignoring at least half of the population right there. Doesn't make any sense. Women, for the most part, might not be into guns now, but if the situation changes, maybe the women will change. Something to think about. 3 million of those men will be implementing martial law as you described. That leaves a scenario of 25 to 1. There are 83 people living on my street in Massachusetts. 2 guys with the machine guns at each end will be more than enough to keep the street locked down. Oh, really? So basically, if we have 200 million privately owned guns in America, that's at least 200 million. In a population of 300 million people, let's say some people own more than one guns. A lot of people own more than one guns. Realistically, you're going to, out of those 83 people, you're going to be dealing with at least 20 people who are armed with a gun, with some type of pistol, with some type of hunting rifle, with some type of shotgun. Now think about this. What if the 20 people who have guns share their weapons with the other people? Then you're looking at a situation where there's 2/3, at the max you can have 2/3 of that population with guns. So you're thinking at minimum 20, anywhere between 20 and maybe 60 of those people will actually have guns versus two guys with machine guns. I mean, first of all, if you have I don't care how many machine guns you have, if there's only two of you, you know, somebody with a good 30-06 rifle with a scope on it can just pick those guys off quite easily. And plus, you're talking about 20 people, for crying out loud. And with a force of 3 million, most of those people won't be out on the street anyway, because most of those people will be dedicated to logistics. Most of those people will be dedicated to supplies, transportation, communications. So in reality, you may only have one guy on the block with a machine gun. Maybe one guy on like several blocks with a machine gun, given the landmass of the country and the population, versus at least maybe 20 to 60 people per block with guns. That doesn't make any sense. It's not going to work. And a tank, you mentioned a tank, well, an occasional tank. If tanks could solve these type of problems, if tanks could solve guerrilla warfare problems, then, you know, Iraq would have went much, much smoother. So I don't see this being something that's really practical. All right, guys, you tell me what you think.